Chapter 1. You Gotta Do Something About Red Rob. Our little inner-city church of 80 people was feeding an average of 150 homeless and poor people on Sunday afternoons, year-round. One day, during one of the meals, a guy came up to me very upset. "You gotta do something about Red Rob. You gotta do something about him," he growled in an angry, aggressive tone. "Calm down," I said. "I'm not sure I even know what you're talking about. What's going on?" "Well, you know that alley you have behind the church?" I knew what he was talking about. The office entrance was on the back side of the building, sandwiched between the building and the alley. It was about 6 feet wide and 20 feet long. An 8-foot-tall retaining wall on the alley side created a really nice, rarely used, slightly hidden area to hide out, catch a nap, camp, or pee. My office window was right there looking out into that little alley. "Well, me and my lady, we've been camping back there at night," he confided, adding hurriedly, "We keep it real nice and clean and sweep up after ourselves, just so you know," as if to ease any concerns I might have about them sleeping on church property. "Well, the other night, me and the old lady was getting it on, and I looked up, and there was Red Rob sitting on the steps smoking a cigarette watching us. You gotta do something about him," he finished shouting in rage. I thought to myself, you're having outdoor public sex on church property right outside my office window, and you want me to do something about the guy sitting on the steps smoking cigarettes watching you. Now, I have a master's in divinity degree from seminary, and I had to take advanced pastoral counseling courses at the graduate level to get that degree. I know you're not going to believe this, but in all that training and graduate level prepared them for ministry church work, somehow this one never came up. I mumbled something about how things would change in less than 2 weeks when we planned on tearing out all the juniper bushes on that side of the building, one of which Red Rob used as his place of residence. Then they would all have to move on and no one would be living on the property at night, so problem solved. Red Rob came up to me a while later, slightly wobbly and definitely drunk, which was the only state I'd ever seen him in. "I got some confessions to make," he drawled out in a slurry manner, hanging his head in shame. "I's busted the window on the other side of the building," he sloppily sighed, with a heavy shrug of his shoulders while his arms hung limply at his sides. We had 5 very tall windows in our 1950 sanctuary building along the main drag of Division Street on the east side of the property. The bottom panels of 4 of them had been broken and replaced with plywood. The 5th bottom panel turned up broken when we arrived at church that day. "So you broke the window?" I asked doubtfully, since he was a very harmless guy and I'd already heard the story earlier from another of our patrons who eats at our meals and also attends church. "Well, I heard that you and Jeff got into a fight over something," now I knew what it was, "and that he shoved your head into the window and that's how it broke." "Well, I ain't one to snitch, you know, but that's true," he admitted. "But it was my head that broke it, so I's pay for it when I can." I wasn't planning on waiting for him to send in a check anytime soon. I walked away from that conversation and many others like it, wondering how I got into this place. What possible skills and talents did I have to pastor such rough crowds in such a crazy environment? What was God thinking, putting me here? Every week I met with a walking dead who shuffled through life bent with pain, rejection, addiction, abuse, and violence. It was ministry among the zombies of America. I admit I was learning a lot. I was being challenged to rethink some ideas and rediscover the love God has for the lost and the broken in our society. I was learning to join him in loving the least of these, Matthew 25:40, and it wasn't easy. It would take me several years and numerous mistakes to finally learn what I needed to know and unlearn much of what I had been taught in my previous years of ministry to work effectively among the poor in a downtown urban church. I still don't know half of what I should know, and in all honesty, I'm probably not very good at it, even after all this time. We are hearing so much in recent years about people who want to get active working in social justice causes and how the average church attendee wants to roll up their sleeves and get dirty helping the poor. They aren't satisfied as passive listeners anymore. Recent bestsellers in the Christian book industry by authors like Francis Chan, David Pratt, Donald Miller, and others have tapped into an underlying angst and given voice to the restless frustrations of a seemingly dormant evangelical Christian community when it comes to social justice and compassion ministry. We are told by online Christian celebrity bloggers how the church is inadequate to reach the millennial generation because we don't understand their passion to be directly involved in such works. But after several years of doing downtown urban ministry, I will say that in general, the American church is woefully ill-prepared, poorly equipped, and undertrained to be effective. Many of our Bible colleges and seminaries lack the experience to teach and train the next generation to be prepared for all that they will encounter if they even try to step out and work among the poor. We don't champion the right leaders in our church world in order to learn from the best. We don't honor the skill and learning of the social worker in our colleges, on church staffs, or at our seminars and workshops. At our retreats, conferences, seminars, or denominational meetings, we rarely ever give the microphone to a small urban church pastor who knows poverty culture. We've been way too enamored by church growth experts, and we've been mesmerized by celebrity suburban leaders who have huge church followings. Those are the voices to which we have been listening when discussing church ministry. We have little idea how much we don't know and how unprepared we are with our stock ministry answers. Answers that can often sound like Pinterest postcard sentiments. When it comes to tackling social justice and poverty issues, our church growth principles come across like a suit and tie on the farm. And in the evangelical community, we don't play well with others and always try to start and do things by ourselves. The following stories will give you a small glimpse into the world of the urban poverty church. You will get glimpses of who the walking dead are in our society, those who have had nothing but apocalypse in their personal histories. You may discover how it differs from many of our preconceived notions about how to pastor and lead effectively. If you step off the beaten paths of church work and wander into the jungle of poverty culture, you will soon realize how much of what you know is useless. Many of the areas where you are firmly grounded will be shaken. You'd better have a sharp machete of wisdom, because many of your patterned church responses and answers won't cut through the pain, trauma, and outlandishness of poverty. You also better get used to being dirty, but you will have a great adventure.